Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to episode number 116 of Under Construction. I am your host, Ellis, otherwise known as Trainman or the Admiral, and this week, though last week I did say we'd be working down by the coast this week, I noticed this little patch and I wanted to fill it in first. So, we'll do this, and then we'll go down there, because that's a decent series of events for this week, although we still need to sort out what we're doing with the bridge situation over there. We'll get to it. Okay, so aside from filling all that in there before I move this way, the other things I need to do are pretty much all down here. Now, I need to check how many of them have to do with copy-pasting trees. Because obviously, I'm not going to do that at the top of the show. If I do it, it's going to be at the end, thereabouts. And we can make no further progress on these areas if that is what the issue currently is. So we can do the beach. That actually would be a good thing to do, since these areas have been treated properly now. Let's go get the beach textures down here. Ooh, we're missing a section, that's right, because of the shipbreaking yard. Soil sand. We were using a different kind of sand, I think. Aren't we? Which I think looks better. You know, maybe that soil sand can be just in that specific area, but I think this looks better. We're missing a big chunk here. I guess I just gave up in this area. Oh well. Well, let's go down to the area where stuff's actually done and work over here. I think from here to basically the end is completed. Which is nice. You know, light at the end of the tunnel is in sight. Tell me it's not a okay. Oh, that's the other thing I didn't do. We need to come along here and move the trees back first. So, let's do a round of tree adjustment. And then we can get down to sandy shores or whatever. Anyway. I don't have too much to cover this week. I mean, no, as Drakenifel likes to call it, channel admin or whatever, I've been super busy. So, unfortunately, things have fallen by the wayside. You guys know that these two shows, which is this and the Zombie Train, as well as the podcast, are my priorities. Usually the podcast actually takes priority if I have, if I have not enough time for both, I'll just do the podcast, because if I can get people for the podcast, that's a lot harder than just sitting down by myself for 2 hours. So that's nice. That's something that I can do. Yeah, Minecraft has fallen by the wayside, and then anything else that I wanted to do, unfortunately, is on hold. But what isn't on hold, this is actually a piece of good news, is To Rule the World, which got another scene done recently, courtesy of TJ doing his editing magic. And so now I'm going to press on with the next scene, which is scene 9, which I believe has a lot of Gary's mod in it. So that's going to be tricky, but not impossible. Nothing is impossible, at least not when it comes to that sort of production. It really does make me feel better to have some progress made, even if it isn't an outstanding amount of progress. Even if it's just that little piece of editing, it does make me happy to see that stuff was getting done. Anyway, to follow up with the mental health, I got my appointment into a mental health professional, and I'm staring at the paperwork that I have to do, because isn't that fun? Yeah, so I'm taking strides. How about you guys? Well, hopefully nobody's quite in the same situation. So, life will treat you the way it treats you. How you work around that is wholly up to you. Alright, so move that guy. I think things are mostly okay. We need to... I didn't do enough trees along here. The forest is not dense enough, but nobody's going to be looking at it from this side anyway. Oh, this pushes in quite a bit. Oh, this is like a beach section, huh? We can use all these trees. We don't have to chop down any trees. Save the trees. Australia's already in a bad enough place with the trees and everything, so let's do our part and request nudes from that woman who's sending nudes if you donate to the wildfires in Australia. I saw a map, by the way, of all of the areas. Like, this is the area that's been burned compared to countries on Earth, and it's significantly larger than quite a few countries. Not like large countries, not huge countries, but countries that are significant in size enough for me to go, oh my god, that's a lot of area that's been burned. Like, larger than Switzerland. Switzerland is not the Vatican City. It's not that small. It is, it may be small as far as countries go, and even as European countries go, but it's not a tiny, minuscule country. It's pretty significant when something the size of Switzerland burns down. So let me mute my speakers because I am... Ooh. Oh, that's right. Oh no, I didn't finish this area. We need to come back here with more trees. Well, we nail down the bits that we can. The more time we spend on completing areas means there are fewer areas that need to be completed, etc. I think I recently mentioned on one of these episodes that I'm thinking about what to do right on the other side of Mason's Landing. Now that we're far enough along that is a valid thing to think about, I've started to have some decent ideas. Now, again, I may have said this on the show before, but I'm going to reiterate. And I feel like I never really articulated it very well. So, out of Mason Valley, or out of Mason... Yeah, no, out of Mason's Landing, which is the town right up here. I am going to have the railroad pull away from the coast quite a bit, and also go into an area that is going to be mostly farmland. So, you can see the bulk of what Mason's Landing looks like, where you've got, some buildings scattered here and there, some things that you could call suburban developments, but it's mostly these spots that have been cut out for relatively small farms, but still farms. And then there are a couple of commercial buildings and industrial buildings crammed in there as well. But one of the things that I want to replicate is more of that farmland. So it's going to look fairly similar to that. Not necessarily the ranch sort of land that we've been working in to this point. I'm thinking actual, like, wheat fields, cornfields, that sort of thing. I'll have to bring in outside consultants to really help me nail it, such as Jader. Mostly Jader. But that's the kind of thing I'm going to be looking at moving to the... I guess that's railroad south, but it's west from here. So, yeah, that's our next steps, but that is not specific. Obviously, I want to get away from the coast, which means I'm going to start turning a little bit south, because the coast is going south too. We need to beat that, so we need to shift a lot further south a lot more quickly. And at the same time, what I think I'm going to do is climb. And that's the crux of what I'm getting at here. The New Haven Railroad had a couple of locations where they specifically ordered their I-5s, or for which they specifically ordered their I-5s. And I believe one of those was called Norton Heights. These were spots along the New Haven main line, which is a relatively flat, water-level coastline route. They were locations where the gradient reached close to 1%. That is 0.6 or 0.8% depending on the location. And those were sustained grades. They were not like, oh, up this bump and we're good. So I want to implement one of those onto here. Now, this is something like, we have Slop Ridge. Slop Ridge, it gets up to like 0.88, I think, maybe 0.9, to get over the hill there. But that is a relatively small hill. I'm talking about 0.8, percent gradient up. for a couple of miles, at least. And that is something that can wear out a heavy freight train, or cause a heavy passenger train or underpowered passenger train to lose a significant amount of speed. I'm trying to give a challenge coming out of this location and heading towards the next one. Now, they'll be able to make up that time because it'll get very flat very quickly once you get into the farmland, but it'll get very flat and very straight very quickly, I should say. But until that point, it's going to be a battle to keep speed and keep time. Particularly if you are a train that is leaving the station of Mason's Landing and you have to cross all the way over and then go all the way up the hill. Something else fun I want to do, and this is going to be something for probably when we move into Trains 2019, because despite everything that I've done so far, I'm not totally in love with all my AI stuff, and I may want to go and build it so that it's more future-proof. With the way things are set up, yeah, I guess things could stay the way they are, but part of me wants to tear down my AI work and do it from the ground up as basically with everything that I know now. It would need a significantly fewer number of track marks. It would need probably fewer commands. I'd be able to use things like copy and such for that. And I think that that would be actually fairly beneficial. But okay, let's finish this up here. But I don't know if I feel like redoing all of that work, because we have come quite a long way. You know, there are areas in this map where I know better building techniques than I did when we started. So there are areas where I can pretty easily point at them and say, well, that's pretty bad and we could redo that if we wanted to, but that's not something I'm doing right now, or at least it's not until or unless somebody says, hey, you should redo this area in an episode because it's old and it's trash. Maybe you'd say it a little nicer than that, but whatever. So the commands that I know now and the nuances with the commands that I know now would make it not only probably more streamlined for the AI, but it would also quite possibly make it easier for me in the future when I try to wrap this whole AI shenanigans up. Whether that's, in 10 years or 100 years, God only knows. But when I get it done, I get it done. And when I get it done, basically I feel like there's going to need to be an overhaul, and I want to do it sooner rather than later. And I think the best time for me to do that would be on the move up to 2019. But it would also probably require me dedicating more time to the railroad on a regular basis, and that isn't something that I can necessarily allocate. Now, I have talked about doing another episode of this when I run out of Zombie Train episodes, or doing, a stream regularly where I'm working on this, and I don't know the validity of doing all that. I don't know the capability of myself to do that. I don't really want to put myself in this looks like a brontosaurus. I don't really want to put myself on the spot and say, yes, we're going to do this, and then I'm not going to be able to follow up. Sort of like with modular Minecraft, although I'll get back to that sooner or later. The whole thing with, with the AI is it's sort of been more of a side project, and that means that I've been putting it together. I haven't been spending too much time researching it unless I've had a lot of time to do it, and I haven't, thoroughly allocated the time for it basically at all. I don't know where I would pull time to get time for it. Now, this isn't a question I want to answer right now. There are a couple of thoughts that are coming to mind that, yeah, maybe I could scavenge time from here or there, make my schedule a little better. I need to do better about blocking out my days, perhaps. Spend this time cleaning, and this time eating, and this time, making the zombie train. But, our days are pretty fluid. Stuff happens, and we don't have the time that we wanted, and then that messes the whole thing up if you have your whole day queued up. So, part of me wants to organize the hell out of my days, but the other part of me realizes that that's kind of not a lost cause, but it'd be work done in vain, mostly. So, I don't know how I feel about doing that, really. But that leads, but that's only a tangent to, well, what about the AI on Tollbrand? The AI on Tollbrand is supposed to be the real centerpiece. The fact that I have a gorgeous and enormous map, of which this really isn't either yet, but, it'll get to at least the enormous part. Whoops! Whoa, full speed. By accident. That, that is supposed to be playing second fiddle to the fact that I have a huge railroad that is running itself. Now, the olive branch switcher, yeah, it's pretty impressive on its own, but that's just on its own. And also, I feel like I've left something out of that, like a combine or something. Part of me also wants to start the day even earlier, maybe 4 a.m., so that I can run those early morning trains that run before ah, my head is itchy. Those early morning trains that run basically before anything else. I'm talking like whatever train would take the workers to their jobs out on the olive branch, because there's no road out there. The first early morning commuter trains leaving their first stations, or even leaving the roundhouse to go and get their cars. I really wonder what have I missed by starting at 6 a.m., even though, originally I was starting at 10, which is the default train start time, I think. And I decided, I'll move this up to 6, because that seems pretty early. I built a schedule around that, which probably wasn't the smartest thing, because there are definitely going to be some trains that are already running at 6 o'clock. And so I'm thinking, well, how much earlier can I make it? Should I start it at 12 midnight? No, that seems too early. You might have trains left over from the previous day running. Should I move it to 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m., just move it back 1 hour? Will that make the difference? I don't know. Honestly, the thing that would probably clue me in the best is old timetables, old commuter timetables, which I don't have access to. I don't know people who have them necessarily, and I'm not looking for a specific one, so it's not like I'm going to go, stalk around the train show looking for a timetable. I want to, base it off of real timetables, and I can look at modern day timetables and derive what I can from them. But I don't know how reflective those would be on our fictional 1950s-esque timetable. I just don't know. So, I know for a fact that the 1950s one would have more, but other than that, there's not much else to be said, at least not to my knowledge. We need a... Ooh, that's a good one. Come back. This is seasonal mud, and I thought it would be darker. Oh, whoops, because I want seasonal water. Ooh, my ears are ringing. I'm wondering if that's my computer doing that. I don't think it is. Anyway. We can fill in this little area and that little area. And also bracket them with trees like we're supposed to. Oh, and this is seasonal mud, isn't it? Oh, no, that's forest floor darker. Damn, I was going to be like... Oh, wow, dang, look. We just used the same texture twice without even knowing. It would have been impressive, but also not great. And this is a good texture. Hope we can use it, anyway. I should make this the edge of this. This is a gorgeous texture, holy crap. We've used this before, I know, but it's pretty. Man, I'm pretty. It does really well along the edges of the lakes here, and I think maybe interspersing this with some other textures, as we're doing right now, will have a pretty good effect. However, don't think it's worth it. So, we'll just scatter it where we have it, and I'm not going to spend too much time trying to make it work everywhere. Yeah, so the corridors that we're looking for along this right-of-way here, or along these two, these are what we should be focusing on. We've got to do the rail corridor and the road corridor. We have to do this peninsula, we have to do this little divot in here that we've been missing, and then this, I believe, is trees, this is trees, this is trees, this is trees, this is all trees. Almost everything here is trees, and the only thing is we've just been slacking on the trees, and also the filling in the gaps, like right here. So we'll go up this road and we'll continue filling in these gaps, and that'll make this area feel a lot more whole, and it'll leave the only empty spaces, the only really empty spaces that we haven't gotten to yet, just areas where we need to throw trees in, and a couple of areas around Mason's Landing, because that area just isn't done yet. See how nice it is without any trees here? Mason, I've said I do understand. Oh, there. Okay. So we'll get the texture done along this road, and then when we're done with that, we'll come along and do the, we'll do the grass. Now, we did have a strategy for the edge of road here, where the fence is. I just need to find an example of it, so that we can copy it. Another thing with sticking to a few textures, etc., there is no need to reinvent the wheel every time you come to a new area. Take what you've already done and just do it again. Because most of the time, you're not going to be going through many places with hugely varied terrain, especially if you're building a more modest size route instead of what I'm doing. Now, I intend to have some more varied stuff. Now, this is June, I think, so it's not like we're going to have snow everywhere. I could always roll it back to May, and then maybe have snow up in the mountains or something. That would be a fun one. Actually, what do you guys think? Should I do that? Because that'd be another fun one, but it also might be best to do it, best to do it best to do it after we move to 2019. I don't know what's going to survive of the session when we go to 2019. Will I have to redo my ATLS crossings? Will I have to redo my my interlocking towers? Will I have to redo my signal configs? Will I have to do my AI again? I'm kind of anticipating the AI thing, even though I don't think it's particularly likely. I have, it's almost a desire to have an excuse to redo those things. Obviously, though, it'll really kick me in the teeth. I won't want to do it for a while. But, putting it back to back, or not back to back, putting it opposite the podcast might be an option. Having a whole day where I'm streaming and working AI. Make that my Saturdays or something. Madison is always working Saturdays, so that, I would just have to not go to the model railroad, because I can do it maybe the other Saturdays where I'm making the podcast. So here we go with the speculation of my own schedule again. But, I'm busy. I'm a busy guy. It happens. So, let's continue along here. I'm imagining it happens like the Mayhem guy. He's one of my favorite people in commercials. He was on Law and Order. I think he was on SVU for a while or something. I remember seeing him in an episode that I watched with Madison going, "Oh, that's Mayhem! That's him, look!" She's like, yeah, he's been on the show. He was a character. I was like, ugh! That's my second favorite person here, aside from Ice-T. If it was actually Law and Order SVU. I don't think it was. I think it was one of the other ones. There's about 1 million shows that are just like it. SVU is the only one that really sticks out in my head, mostly because of Ice-T, but also because the cases are so particular and unique, you know? Not like the other shows don't have great storylines and good characters and stuff, but SVU really pulls it all together. I think they do a pretty good job of having it almost exclusively be Monster of the Week, so I can jump in as a really casual viewer and just be like, oh, that was entertaining. Yeah, Ice beat that guy up. Here's some great court scenes. And then sort of just go about the rest of my day without thinking about, like, well, what happens to them next episode? There are very few to-be-continueds in Law & Order SVU. At least from my experience. I can be not invested in the characters and still enjoy the hell out of it every single time they come on screen. That said, I'm getting more invested because I watch the show quite a bit now. Not that that's a bad thing. There are worse things to be stuck on. I did not know that Jeff Ramsey of Achievement Hunter fame was a fan of reality television until recently. And it sort of made me go, really? Because it's just not the thing I expected. And the show that Madison likes, which is, I call it Betrayal Island, but I think it's Temptation Island. Jeff said it's the best. And so I was like, cool, I was introduced to what's allegedly the best of these kinds of shows, and I didn't even have to, like, worry about trying to pick a good one or something. I still found it, like, fully eye roll. Because it's like, who comes here and thinks it's a good idea? Who? No, you're here for our entertainment. You're here to hate each other. And I just sit there and I laugh at them. I laugh at those people. When somebody gets all upset at whatever. And I feel bad about it, but I still laugh at them. Because it's like, you subjected yourself to this. This is not something that befell you. This is no tragedy. This is a tragedy of your own making. If it is a tragedy at all. I'm just like, look at the, they saw the clip and now they're all upset. I am a gossip fiend in reality, and then when it comes to people on television, I just want to laugh at them. I don't get anything out of that, well, partly because I don't pay attention to it fully, but I don't get anything out of those shows other than, like, oh, look at these idiots. Look at what they've set themselves up for. But, hey, they're getting paid. I don't think I would do it, but it really depends on how much they're getting paid. I don't know how much they're getting paid. At that point, it'd be really... I'm afraid of myself if I was in that situation. I want to know what you guys would think if you guys had an established relationship when you went on, like, Temptation Island. Which, for those who don't know, they kick some natives off of an island. No, they don't. There's an island somewhere. It's in... I think they filmed it in the Azores recently. It's a little private island, and it's got, like, these two houses on it. And one is the guy's house, and one is the girl's house. And the people that go in, it's like a dozen couples or whatever. And also 6 single people for each sex. So there's the guy house, which is all, all the dudes from the relationships, and then 6 single girls, or something like that. And then there's the girl house, which is all the girls from the relationships and 6 single dudes. I think. And they have to, like, take, they're mandated to take the people of the opposite sex out and, go on dates with them and do whatever. I mean, you're in an island paradise. You hang out and you drink and you play games and you hike and see movies and whatever you do. I don't know. And then you bang because you were a horny dude and your girlfriend is on the other side of the island probably banging some other dude. And the thing is, do they come out of there having ruined their relationship or not? And the thing is, it's like you could be completely celibate and just, like, take your time on the island as entertainment and slow and, like, oh, I don't cheat on my wife. I am not going to let this go anywhere, despite the fact that, I'm presented with 6 beautiful single girls whose purpose here is to seduce me, basically. And then you come back and you find out your girlfriend has totally gone full in for it, and they're with some other guy now, and they're going to take him home. And so then you're like, well, I just spent however long on this island being good for my girlfriend, and she just ruined it. And so it's like, yeah, now your life is ruined, and you get to be miserable. Enjoy. And everyone on TV gets to be like, you sucker, you should have had sex with that girl. Or all 6 of them when given the opportunity. Is this too heavy a topic for this show? Like, I'm just coming around to this and realizing, what is my viewer base really? Oh well, this is not going to be marked for kids. But anyway, so that's Temptation Island. I like to call it Betrayal Island. You guys probably understand why now that I've given you the brief explanation. So, yeah, I want you guys to, assuming, whether or not you have relationship experience, I don't know. You can post your thoughts on what would you do in the face of all those thoughts. Because it is super entertaining to me to just sort of think about that. Again, I have no connection to these people that are on the show. I don't remember who they are episode to episode when I see the episodes, and it's not like I've seen them all in a row. I even forgot that it ended. The other day, I said just out of the blue to Madison, how is Betrayal Island? She's like, it ended. And I was like, oh yeah, you told me that. You told me that it ended, and like, some stuff happened. And I didn't remember at all. I also didn't remember her saying that some woman on, I think it was NCIS, was alive the whole time, and then she just reappears. And she's like, I knew it, and I told you, and I knew it, and you had no idea what I was talking about. And I was like, yeah, I had no idea what you're talking about, but this is a pretty good show, right? So I didn't get, like, any of the emotional impact from any of that. And she's just like, so glad she's back, or whatever. Totally fair, by the way. She once asked me why I get so worked up at games like Rocket League, and I'm like, why do you cry at TV shows? And the conversation kind of ended there, because I guess she was like, fair. So, I want to play more Rocket League. I logged into Rocket League maybe a couple weeks ago, and then I had to run out for something, I think. I can't remember what happened. But I just had to leave, and I didn't get to play the games I wanted to play, which was like, I want to do qualification matches again and find out how low I actually am this time around. And, like, the whole thing was different, there was like, there are no crates anymore, we use these things, there are no more decryptors, we do this. And I was just like, what am I looking at? I don't know how any of this works. So, I'm boggled. I don't know how that game works anymore. I know you drive around and hit the soccer ball, but that's about it. Yeah. Other than that, like, I've never been much for cosmetics in that game anyway. I have, and I've made the things that I've made, and my cars and stuff, I've customized them. But when I see a new cosmetic, I don't think, like, what can I make with that? I wonder, I think it looks neat sometimes, but I don't want to change my presets to the point where if I get something new, it's like, well, that's kind of cool. What do I do with this? And sometimes it doesn't even get to that point. It's just, this is kind of cool. This is a neat looking set of wheels. Obviously, you want to do stuff with the stuff that you get, but... Okay. So we need to figure out what this area looks like over here. Oop. Okay, we were just putting grass down. That's fine. That makes sense to me. I have Thin Lizzy stuck in my head. Also, wait a minute. I'm just realizing, Thin Lizzy, Tin Lizzy. Is that like a... I'm wondering if that is something that they did on purpose. Thin Lizzy. Thinking. Anyway. They don't seem like car people to me, based on what's in their songs. They're like cowboy people. Alright, so we're finally going to get this stretch of road done. Kevon put this really well the other day. Now, this is something that's come about in these shows a couple of times now. I don't know how anyone, or, I don't know how anyone in the trains group, after working on things like this for so long, can do another route build competition. Because you had 3 hours, and that's it. And Kevon's like, I spent 3 hours on, like, a tiny little section. And I'm thinking, yeah, me too. Like, me too always. But I don't know how people did it then. I definitely don't know how people would do it now, especially since a lot of people are, like, out of practice route building. And, you'd have to get all your assets together and figure out your pick lists and whatever. Like, I don't know. I feel like it's a hell of a thing. I don't think it's realistic for me to do any sort of anything in 3 hours. I mean, this show is 2, but whatever. I'm wondering these days if I can do an extra long extended version if one of these nights Madison works real late. I think she's going to get back before I'm done with this anyway, because I had to run an errand before I started. And I'm starving, and I was supposed to make food. For the both of us, not just for me. Oh well. It'll happen when I'm done with this. Alright, there we go. I really should be worried about this side. This side is the important side. And now I'm just coming up with random things in my house that I need to fix. So, this is a stupid bulb. Does anybody here have those bulbs that are the energy efficient ones that take like forever to actually get light? I hate them. I appreciate them for what they are, but I hate them. Because they make it impossible for me to turn on a light at a moment's notice, which is like the point of having electric lights. Is it not? I mean, aside from the fact that you don't have to pipe gas around through your walls. But, seriously, having that at a moment's notice. Click, light's on. No. Click, light is on dimly. An hour later, the light is on. I don't find it worth it. There are 2 light bulbs in my house which are like this and drive me completely bonkers, because I can turn them on expecting to light up the room, or light up the outside in the case of one of them, and it doesn't, and I have to wait for a while. Okay, so we need to build this area. We can finish ballasting this up to about here, though. So we did the road segment, let's do the railroad segment. Like I said, I think, or an extension of what I said, I think I'm going to keep my work to specific areas instead of specific tasks for now. Now that we are this close to the end of this section, which I know I've been saying that for months, but seriously, we are, it's more important that we iron out whatever's in front of us than wander around looking for the best thing to do. This is, this is the point where everything we complete is a massive hurdle, and that means that no matter what we're doing, we're making immense amounts of progress, percentage-wise. Now before, if we were sitting around doing textures back in Atoms, when we still had terrain to build up ahead, I would maybe say priorities had been misplaced. Especially when I'm trying to do something like AI work in the background. The thing is, when we move into 2019, someday we will have the combined driver and surveyor, and then I can have the AI running while I do these episodes. Same time, I don't know how productive that's going to be, because it's going to split my attention quite a bit, but I think that it will at least let me troubleshoot, and it'll also give me incentive to actually work on the thing, I guess at all. Because I haven't done AI work on this in quite some time. Yeah, so we did say this was good enough. I think I maybe wanted to add a little water tank or something here. Not for the trains, of course. Is this... Yeah, okay, we're on an embankment here, so let me grab that. I love the way it opens up like that, though. Now, there are things I would like to discuss that are better saved for the Terminus podcast, and these are just random things I noticed, like issues in New York City. I'm not sure if somebody's posted an article about that, though. And brightlining, killing people, you know, all my favorite stuff. Yeah, I don't really have much else. Although, much else in the train department, I guess, that I wouldn't explicitly want to save for the podcast, because that's in just a couple of days, hopefully. The other thing is, I found something. I found something on Craigslist, which is a dangerous find for me, but it's okay because it's not perfect. Everything has to be... What's up with this? Everything has to be perfect for me to want something like that. Now, I am talking about a 1988, I think? 1987 is what it is. Volvo Turbo Sedan 740. Volvo 740 Turbo Sedan. That is the issue with it. The very last word there. Sedan. I do not want a Volvo Turbo Sedan. I want a Volvo Turbo Wagon. That is the magic phrase. Those are the magic words. That is the magic thing. This wagon will challenge every reason for not owning a wagon. So says the slogan. And I need one. Right now? No. But that won't keep me from window shopping. Hold on one second. Once I clear this up. So yeah, Craigslist, Niantic, Connecticut, $3,200. Uh-oh. Oh, there we go. Oh, whoops, we need to get this side. I'm trying to do this thing, meanwhile people are PMing me politics. Let's not talk about that right now, although I will say, boy, are we in a pickle. Actually, we were in a pickle a couple of days ago, but now we're kind of alright. Now things are a little bit better. Hopefully they don't continue... Oh, hopefully they continue to de-escalate and do not continue to escalate. And for all those prophesizing... I will say this. For all those prophesizing World War III, I know it's a meme. I know. But, on a serious note, for all those prophesizing World War III, I don't think this will be the catalyst for World War III. There is not enough weight being slung around yet, anyway. What would be an easy catalyst for World War III, this is the thing that I like to bring up, is if one of the major Western powers decided to side with the protesters in Hong Kong. That could be a World War III. Now, China does not want all-out war. China wants more China, but China also wants people continuing to buy all of China's things. So, yeah, that means, ultimately, that if you were to have somebody side with the Hong Kong protesters, Hong Kong would have a serious backer, and also China would then have somebody to thoroughly direct their ire at, which isn't great, I would think. Not that they don't already have people to do that with, but, this is the first territorial struggle of this nature in quite some time. This is like a colony revolting. This is like a War of Independence situation, almost. Not to compare everything back to America, but it's the first thing that comes to mind. Now, there's no war going on, per se, in Hong Kong, but things aren't exactly pleasant. You could probably characterize it as a sort of war. Either way, it's worth saying that at least this whole thing with Iran is calming down. I was PM'd about the jetliner that got shot down, which is unfortunate, and tends to point to Iran blew a jetliner out of the sky due to heightened tensions, because they probably thought it was something else. I would doubt that they just decided that today was the day that they were going to take down a random commercial airliner. But it definitely doesn't help things. So, people are dead. That's not great. Anyway, you're free to discuss World War III in the comments, but I'm going to read them next episode. Hopefully this situation has taken on a lighter tone by then, and hopefully people will stop just killing people for now, for a little while at least. Not that that's actually realistically going to happen, but, we can all pray. And also vote, and also spread awareness and activism, because prayers don't really help anybody. They're a nice thought, and yes, it's the thought that counts until somebody dies. Oh well. Prayer might help you afterward, but we'd like to keep people alive. At least that's my take on the whole thing. Thoughts and prayers, getting the people past the pearly gates. I don't know. If you think it helps, it helps. That's, what prayer is. But there are more things to do than pray. That should be like a slogan or something. Prayer and fasting. I feel like it should end with fasting. Prayer and fasting. I don't think fasting will help people either. You're supposed to eat all your food, because the starving children in Africa could have had that food. That's what I learned anyway. Coney 2012. The Invisible Children or whatever. Okay. So, we do have, speaking of comments, we do have one comment from last episode, which is fun. Which we can get into more Idiocracy bit, thanks to it. Thank you, Dean. I almost said Kevon. Thank you, Dean. And that comment is, if anyone is surprised that the ship goes down in Titanic, I think that means in Titanic, that should say something. Yeah, it probably does. You know what else says something? The people that don't think Titanic was real. It's funny, we have this major motion picture, and it's funny how difficult it can be sometimes to be like, no, that is just a movie. That's just a movie, that's not real. Except this time it's the other way around. People thinking like, oh, the Titanic, the movie, yeah, how sad. No, the Titanic, the ship. The boat. The one that sank. The one that took like 2,000 people down with it. It's funny now, like, I got on another Titanic kick because of course I effing did. I did when I was a small child and I drove my mom up the wall with wanting to rent Titanic documentaries from the library and watch them in my spare time, which as a kid you have plenty of. And of course she's like, why do we have to watch something depressing all the time? Why can't we watch something like fun and happy? Why do we have to watch another Titanic documentary? And I'm just like, the Titanic is cool, isn't it? Except my voice was like 3 octaves higher. Mom was like, yeah, right, yeah. I don't know why she endured that. But then she took me to a thing at the casino, which was a traveling exhibition of the Titanic, and all sorts of stuff that was taken off the Titanic. The most fun part about it is, or in my recollection, aside from the really awesome model, is that when you, quote-unquote, got on, when you entered the exhibit, or exhibition, they would give you a boarding pass, an actual replica of a Titanic boarding pass with the real name of a real Titanic passenger on it. And I think there were crews interspersed in there as well, but I think they were mostly passengers from my recollection. Most, if not all of them, were passengers. But I got one, and my mom got one, and whoever else was with us, I can't remember, he got one as well. And we went through the whole thing, and then when you get to the end, after all the artifacts and stuff, when you get to the very end, there is a big, well, there was a computer of sorts, and you could punch in your name, or your passenger name, and it would tell you what happened to you. I'm I'm pretty sure I died, because most people did. But I still have that boarding pass, that Titanic boarding pass. First of all, I noticed it was a Swede, which makes my life even better, because Swede. Need for Swede. To circle back around to the Volvo that was on sale, aside from it being gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous, inside and out, it had an Italia badge on the grill, and I was like, this car is calling to me. It wants me to buy it, but I cannot, because not only do I have the money, it's not a wagon. I don't want not a wagon. I have a sedan. I would rather have a wagon. They're more useful and more iconic, etc. So the Titanic thing, I found as I was digging through some old stuff that my dad had given me when we moved in. Madison had dug up some posters that were not framed, and we had a bunch of frames with various things in them, and we wanted to see, oh, well, what fits in a frame? And where can we hang these frames up? So, we had these frames, and 2 of them were collages from when I had gone to Disney World as a small child, which they were cool, but they hadn't seen the light of day in many years, and they were old as hell. There were some older ones that I wanted to keep because they were very nice, but these were, I mean, they weren't bad. They weren't great. They were kind of cool, and they had Disney posters in the back and old pictures of my family and stuff. But, you know, these are pictures that are probably best off in a photo album now, and then you can share them with family when they come over, instead of being a poster on the wall of, you know, in your room. Because they were probably in my bedroom when I was young. So, one of these posters had tucked into the frame the boarding pass, and I went, how cool is that? And Madison had one of her things, which was, it's like a motivational poster of sorts, and it's very tall and thin, and we didn't really have a frame that would fit it, and it would fit in one of these collage frames, but it didn't fill up the whole thing. It had twice as much space. The height was good, the width was not. And so, we were like, well, what are we going to do with this? We can put it in here, because nothing else we have fits in this frame, and it does not fit in any other frame that we have. So, what are we going to do? And I realized, well, what about the boarding pass? That will fit in the frame, and it will still leave a lot of empty space, but at least it will try to fill the empty space left next to this big vertical thing that you read from the bottom up, and it says something like, you know, when you're on the bottom, you need to start building yourself up. Or, you know, it's quite wordy, actually, and it takes you a minute because you have to read it in reverse. But, you know, this is not the kind of thing that I would typically have in a household. You know, live, laugh, love, blah, blah, blah. But Madison thought it was nice, and I was like, it's nice enough. And then I found the irony. Talking about being on the bottom and working your way up. With the boarding pass of a individual who died on the Titanic, which is now, of course, on the bottom. So, yeah. Those 2 are in the frame together, and they are in our bedroom. Hanging up above the laundry in such a way that when you wake up and look just a little to the left, you see it staring you in the face. And it is my jokey reminder of 2 things, I suppose. One, you have to put effort into life. As in, you know, if you're down, you gotta build yourself up. And, which is particularly relevant for me right now. And number 2, death is inevitable, and it will come for you. Maybe when you least expect it. Maybe when you think you are unkillable or unsinkable. So, put effort into life, and remember that life goes with death. I don't know, is not permanent, is a gift, is nothing to take for granted, is, you know, is fragile, perhaps. I don't know. Just a constant reminder that we are mortal. I know someone who has one of these apps that tells you, like, a few times a day, hey, remember, you're going to die. And I'm like, why would you have that? But at the same time, I kind of get it. Yeah, it's a real thing. It is. It is. I swear to you. Not only that, but I know somebody that has it in real life, and I know, and it was referenced on a TV show that Madison and I were watching. One of these, one of these cop dramas, or, law dramas, or whatever you want to call them. It's like, oh, I have this app, it reminds me that I'm going to die. And Madison is like, why? And I was like, we know someone that has one of those. At the same time, I was also like, why? But... oops, that's the wrong grass. But hey, if it keeps you spry, or whatever. I feel like or whatever is the name of this podcast. This is actually pretty good looking now. We're getting there. Where's my render distance? I think it's on like 6,000. Probably shouldn't be. Yeah, it shouldn't be. Let's turn that down. That'll make my computer run a little bit better. Not that it's doing particularly poorly right now, but we are in the middle of a relatively empty area. Let me check on this real quick. What? I don't know what's going on there. Alright, yeah, Titanic. I love the Titanic. In like a historian sort of way, though, of course. I love when ships go down and kill everyone. It's my favorite. So, this area is supposed to be treed up, this area is supposed to be treed up, and these areas have fences on them. So, the thing is, I don't know what to actually put here, what to fill these areas in with. Because to use just the regular forest feels, I don't know, almost disingenuous. Like, it's not supposed to be regular forest. And everybody knows that. Everybody knows it isn't regular forest. But here we are, and I need to put something here. I think, due to the fact that you can't see this road, I think I'm going to leave it the way it is for now. And if you guys want me to do more detail on the road, say so, and I will. Alright, patchy grass. Patchy grass. Yeah, so I don't know what I want to put over there. Like I said, no, we don't need to reinvent the wheel every time we go to do something. But at the same time... oh, there we go. Actually patchy grass. But at the same time, this calls for a little bit of a different solution than I think what we've been doing before. Because if it is just regular forest, then I see no reason why the farmland wouldn't end at the beginning of the forest instead of halfway through, which is right here. So it has to be land that is at least partially cleared. You know, maybe there are still a few big trees remaining, but a lot of stumps. And the grass should be a little darker. I need to find what I want to do for that, and then I need to create it, and then I need to replicate it. Maybe that should be best saved for the bottom quarter of this show. Or maybe it should be saved for offline, but I think that the bottom quarter is better because I'll never get to it otherwise. So, yeah. This is Slop Ridge, ladies and gentlemen. And we also have a broken back curve here, which is not great, but... oh well. Let's see, we can get up to here, I think. Here, give or take, with what we're doing right now. So, let's just meet in the middle, and then we need to come along with the side textures, and then the grass. And then we need to see what the next thing is to do, because all the stuff along these corridors is fair game. This needs to get done. Once this is done, we can actually finish from here all the way to there, I guess, which is a big deal. So, you know, should I spend time on trees this episode? Obviously, you guys can't answer that. But things have been running okay so far, which we're about to hit an hour, and that's when it tends to crash. An hour of recording, which is weird. It is really weird. because I sometimes will let the game sit for quite some time before an hour, or before I start recording. And so an hour of recording is pretty arbitrary for the amount of time that we're in the game, and even in the map. So I don't know. I don't know what the takeaway is with that. It just sometimes will just give out on us. Okay, so there's another section done. It's an isolated section, so that doesn't make me super happy, but it's better than nothing. We do need to do the rest of the textures on it though, so let's not wander off yet. Focus on one little bite-sized piece at a time. I did say that I didn't worry, or I wasn't worrying so much about getting sections done, like predefined sections done, but I don't want to be wandering too much. And they both link back to the same thing. I want to spend more time building and less time thinking about building. I can build and think about building. I can build right now, do what I'm doing, and also theorize what those areas of farmland are going to look like. And I think with the stumps and stuff, I think that's going to do it. I'd never really put thought into it before. Are these hovering? Okay, no, they aren't. Phew. Thought they were. This is just a weirdly shaped bump. So, I don't know, did you guys have a morbid fascination with anything when you were younger? Don't say trains. Like something that you maybe shouldn't have been fascinated with so much. I mean, the Titanic is a fascinating subject and a lot of people like it, but it's like, wow, a lot of people died. It's not something that's a really light, nice conversation topic. Unlike, I don't know, World War III. I don't know, the internet likes World War III, so we'll keep going with that. The internet also likes Baby Yoda, so we can talk about Baby Yoda. I know nothing about Baby Yoda because I don't have Disney Plus and don't watch The Mandalorian, but, I know of his existence. And I feel like I should be watching these compilations of him with subtitles because I saw the very beginning of one and it was hilarious. Is it even a he? Do Yoda's species have sexes and genders? Is that a thing? Is there like a female Yoda's species? What is the name of Yoda's species? I feel like everyone ought to know that it's not Baby Yoda, it's just a baby one of Yoda's species. I feel like everyone already knows that, but maybe if you're just a cursory observer, you don't. I don't know. That's just me. Also, I wasn't paying attention there and textured an area that I maybe didn't need to or shouldn't have with this texture. Alright. So, alright, let's get in here. Let's get in here. This area is coming along. It almost feels like a model railroad section, though. That's not necessarily a good thing. Also, we'll pretend the lines that run along here are all going to be buried instead of in overhead telegraph or telephone style wires. Which we've got to do that for the rest of the VMR, I think. Alright, almost there. This texture is for every part that's an embankment, not the cuts. And we put it on a cut, which is a mistake. Although this area is pretty dirt. It's not real stony by any means. So, maybe it isn't inappropriate to use it on, other things. It isn't inappropriate to use it on the edge of a cut. But it's sort of breaking the trend that we've had. Something else that I watched was a compilation of the best of Kronk from Emperor's New Groove. He's become many memes now, and I feel like everything with Patrick Warburton deserves to kind of be a meme, because that man is at least his, I don't know anything about him, at least his voice is an absolute treasure of humanity, and we should have him and Morgan Freeman record the next golden disc that gets sent out on the next deep space probe. That's my thought anyway. Also, for all his faults, Neil deGrasse Tyson also has a pretty good voice. I like that. I'm realizing as I'm saying this, I have no idea what Patrick Warburton even looks like. I picture him as what is his name? Joe? I think it's Joe from Family Guy, because that's what I knew him from originally. I didn't even know his name until there was a Let's Play, and people thought that the top-down view sort of looked like him. I think Jeremy and... It was what was it? It was like Shifty Larry or something. Shifting something. I don't know. You could teleport a little. That was the Let's Play. I don't know. They made like 3 parts, but they didn't finish the game. Which always makes me sad, but I understand why they have to do that sometimes. Speaking of Let's Plays by them, how about that Lasso Let's Play? It's making me want to play Reach. I bought Reach on the console, but Kevon lied to me and said that he could play crossplay, and you can't. So, you know. Consequences. I just heard something fall over in the other room. It's amazing. I don't have, like, a cat or a dog or a kid, and yet I'm home alone, or, you know, whatever. Stuff's just falling over. House is haunted. It's gotta be. House definitely haunted. But really, I don't freaking know. People leave stuff in precarious positions. I come into the other room, this cup's, like, on the edge of the table. I'm like, you're gonna sneeze, and it's gonna go. It's gonna go all over the floor. I have to spend time organizing coffee tables before I put my feet up on them. Apparently that's not a priority for other people. And like it gives the impression that I'm throwing shade at the other people that I live with. I'm really not. What am I doing? I'm griping. I get to do that. I'm a homeowner. We were talking about, like, I can't remember what was being talked about the other day, but it was just like, oh, just block him, blah, 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 girl stuff. You know, guys being pushy or whatever. And it's like, if he comes to this house, we can tell him to leave, you know. And I'm just like, if somebody comes here and I get to tell them to get off my lawn, it will be the greatest moment in my entire life. It will be the culmination of all of my years of existence. Everything has led to this moment where I can say, get off of my lawn. I have my own lawn with which to tell people to get off of. I'm not sure that's a proper use of... I'm not sure that sentence made sense grammatically, but... which I can tell people to get off of. I have the power because I own this place. Literally, I do. That makes me happy. That makes me excited. Come at me. I'll tell you to get off my lawn. Graham, you should visit so I can tell you to go away. I don't think Graham even watches these. But I'm going to have people over this summer, by the looks. Because the cat's blah, blah. I can't. I need water. The Cooper's and Toltec trip got shaken up quite a bit, so... Looks like I'll have visitors to Rhode Island once again. Which I really like. It validates my ego a little bit. But also, you know, it's nice to be able to show people around your home state, and also to be able to see the people that you're friends with. That's always a bonus. Oh, we need to over here. Yeah, we do, because this side... Oh, well, this side, it's gonna get some copy-pasting. Yeah, I guess let's not. Let's just get the cut stuff and, put it over there. Right there. There you are. Don't at all remember the name of it when I'm going to find it. The other thing is, so, this is not covered yet. We need to do the grass on this. The other thing is, just thought of this, we probably shouldn't have the bushes here. We should just have it be the thicker grass through here. That might make more sense. Also, excuse me if I didn't say that already. I suck down water and then I have problems. And spicy nugs do that to me too. And apparently they do that to effing TJ because he fumigated my car. I think we talked about that on the last podcast. But anyway, this is going to be the first podcast of the new year, and we will see who is the first crash of the new year. Aside from Brightline doing Brightline things. I don't know. If you don't watch the podcast, you should watch the podcast. I'm kidding. You shouldn't watch the podcast. It's terrible. Don't do that. This last one was pretty lengthy, honestly, because we had Zombie Train Locomotive Versus, which was a pretty fun one. Jader made some mistakes. Well, actually, you could say he made one mistake, and then he doubled down on it when we gave him the option to not make that mistake. But, hey, that's him. I can't tell you much about it other than that. And I have run out of things to talk about, and we have 50 minutes left. 5-0, that is. I know some people go into podcasts and things with, like, a written, this is what we're going to talk about today. I don't. I used to do that for, what do you call it? I used to do that for the weekly timetable, which, I could get back into doing that. I don't know why I don't do that. I'm just not alone during my spare time enough. I'm okay with doing regular videos where it's not face cam when there are other people in the other room or whatever. But when it comes down to me doing that, I don't want somebody to wander in and get caught in the background of a live stream when they don't want to. It's a whole thing. I don't really want to do that when people are here, and I don't get enough time when people aren't here to reliably do that. I feel like it's a nice thing. It's the closest thing I ever had to a vlog, but it really is just stealing topics from this, which I can always talk about topics on this. I could talk about my life and everything, because that's what you guys come here for. I know you certainly don't come here for a fish and route building. And I think I'll stop here because we need to do this side. So we'll fill in this area in the middle later. Nope, we didn't do it all. Alright, we need some more CUK rock cover. Go this way. Alright. So, let's cover this up. Also, I think I just got Steam notifications. I have my sound off so I can't hear them, but you guys can hear them. That is not your Steam, don't panic. I almost never respond to anybody on Steam. I don't use it for friggin' anything. I use it for games. That's not my platform of choice. Once upon a time, my platform of choice was Skype, and then we moved to the Iron Horseman Discord server, and then I just sort of try to keep everything in one place. I don't like to run around from platform to platform trying to chase somebody down if I can't find them here, or I have them here, or whatever. I don't want to do it. I'm not interested. I've got one location. Oops, speaking of which. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, Shelby's upset at me. Apparently I told Dean that she was waiting for you. She was waiting. I told Dean that Shelby was waiting for him. I did not know it was a secret. Which, oh, thank God I have that on Do Not Disturb. Alright. There we go. And there we go. This area can probably get handled with mostly grass and a little bit of dirt. Which we will go get. In a second. I need to get... Poop. I don't know what that means. What I just got scent, but whatever. Let's just... Oop. Alright, we need to make this area look good. We're making it look good. Make Mama proud. Mama be like, why are you doing this? Why don't you have a job? I do have a job, Mom. Yeah, but what are you doing? Why do you spend all your time here? Then the wooden spoon comes out. Just kidding. That's not my life. The life of many Italians. But not mine. My grandmother would have been the one with the wooden spoon. You know, the one that's haunting this house. Alright, so now we have a section of texture. And now we need some more grass to go with it. The thing that I'm going to do, as I usually do, when we are done with everything, I'm going to go over every tile and fill in the empty spaces using this command with a generic sort of dirt. That grass is not the grass that I want. I know Madison gets out at 9:30 or so, but she sometimes gets out. It's 9:18. She sometimes gets out earlier if she's closing, because she just shuts down the registers and everything and heads out the door. Or she'll stay behind if she's not. So I have no idea when to expect her. We are, let's see, where's Bandicam? It minimized itself. An hour and 17 minutes into this recording, and we are about an hour and 19 minutes into 8 o'clock, I guess, is the way that would work. So it's 9:19, and yeah, so she'll be on her way home, and then we run and hide, we pretend like we weren't here. No. Be on her way home, and she's probably going to come in and ask me if it's okay if she makes the food then, because she's hungry, and I'm hungry too, so I'll probably say yes, and then be sad because I was supposed to make the food. Not that I'm much of a cook, but I want to get my cooking chops a little better, because I've said before that without Madison here, I starve. You know, hopefully I will not starve. I'm starving. But yeah. Okay. Are we gonna do the third round of grass, or are we just gonna do these two? This is track. We are scenicking track. This is the most important area in the map. Anywhere right along the track, because it's where people will see most of the time. So, we should pull out all the stops. One of the things that I was doing originally was adding an electrical box by every signal bridge, and I haven't done that lately, and maybe I should. But the thing is, that's an object, and objects get deleted when you copy-paste over them with trees and stuff. So, I don't know if I'm going to be copy-pasting over an area with a signal bridge. I think there's one behind me that is in the line of fire. So I don't want to go back and do that now, but it's something to keep in mind. You know, we want to be on top of it. We want to be on top of what we're building, and we want to make sure that we're consistently detailed. You know, even if that detail isn't spectacular, if you have a lot of good detail versus a little bit of great detail, the good detail is going to look a lot worse. That doesn't mean don't do great detail, but if there's going to be an area with less than good detail, either keep it well away from the tracks, or maybe reconsider and just add a little bit extra. You know, I hope you understand what I'm trying to get across here. Stuff will look different comparatively. If you go from a beautiful area to a kind of crummy area, it's going to be like, well, what happened? We know you can. We know you can do great things. It's like if you just drop, a couple letter grades in all your classes for no reason. It's like, we know you can get A's or B's. Why are you getting D's? Oh, I don't know. I don't feel like it. Well, here comes the wooden spoon again. So, anyway, that's that. Do good in school, kids. Don't do school, stay in drugs, or whatever. Yeah, the water really does help with, like, my yearning desire to tear open the cabinets and eat the first thing that I find. Pro tip for those trying not to be fat: if you feel hungry, drink water first, because you might just need something in your stomach and you don't actually need, like, nutrition yet, and calories yet, and your stomach is just like, more. Your stomach is being fat, but you do not need to be fat. Give me this. No. Oh, that's the first time it's giving me the fence. There we go. Alright. Oh yeah, we're gonna do the last grass pass here. That wasn't intentional, but there you go. Oh, don't crash. Don't crash. We're doing so well. We are like an hour and 23 minutes in or so. Don't crash. Don't you die on me. And I just want to play more Hearts of Iron. I screwed up 2 Soviet Sweden playthroughs. One, I waited too long to begin my invasion of Finland. Also, I called the Soviets, which was a mistake. And 2, I did it way too quickly. I need to get good. I need to really focus on building up my military quickly, at least to get a manpower advantage over Finland, because then I can take over Finland and then take over Norway. Hopefully world tension does not go up super quickly between my declarations of war on Finland and Norway, because if I wait too long, then the democratic powers, that is Britain and France, will step in and say, no, we're going to defend them. And that's when things get tricky. Now, one of the issues is, or one of the things I can do about that is, go to declare war on a whole bunch of other countries, and then they'll use up their political power trying to declare on those countries. But that is a real janky thing to do, I think. I mean, I can understand the legitimacy of it, because if you say, well, we're going to defend this country, and we're going to defend this country, and we're going to defend this country, then your people start to get a little weary of you saying that. And, it might not, you just might not have the literal political capital to spend on, well, we're also going to guarantee these guys, this is the fifth country that Sweden said they would attack, but they haven't attacked the first 4 yet, anyway. So that's kind of what I'm thinking when it comes to that strategy. But really, I should just be trying to make a move quickly. And I also need to get a little bit lucky. So, Germany needs to not cause a stir too quickly. Japan needs to not cause a stir too quickly. I'm not sure there's a way to prevent the Spanish Civil War from happening. Pretty sure that's just gonna happen. But the world tension gets ratcheted up by Germany and Japan / China. I think Madison's home. That was actually pretty quick. Let's ignore this for now. Let's ignore this road. Look at this. Symbol of mountains. Okay. We need to do the along the coastline here, and put in Unless that was the wind creaking the house. I thought I heard somebody walking around. Also ghost. Definitely ghost. We need to cover all of these. Yeah. And I can just do them with the same texture because who's going to care? Just let's eliminate gray grid. That is our goal. For now and forever. We create gray grid and then we remove gray grid. I can give it and I can take it away, basically. Alright. So, ooh, that's actually on the other side of this. So let's do that. We want the border to be somewhere towards the ocean side of the grass line. If it's in the middle, that's fine, but we want it to be more towards the ocean side. Alright, so this area is a tricky one. I don't really know what I want to put in here. I know that most of it has to be grass, and this has to be like mud or something. What? Let's move object. Move. This strip in here is also going to be an exercise in confusion or something. We'll come back to you. Now back to you. Yeah, I have Angel from the Coast still stuck in my head. It's been playing there since I sat down, which is weird, because I don't know when the last time I heard it is. Maybe I did hear it recently, and it's just, that's what got it there. I just don't remember hearing it. Could have played in the car on the way home. I don't know. Anyway, something else that happened, I think, since the last episode. No, wait. Yeah. The Patriots are out. That's something worth mentioning. Those are my boys. Tom Brady went out with a pick six as his final pass of the 2019 to 2020 NFL season. And the Tennessee Titans move on to get obliterated by the Baltimore Ravens, because there's no way they're going to survive that. None at all. Sorry, Tennessee fans. It's not happening. If it does, I will be flabbergasted. I will be really excited because Ding Dong the Witch is dead. I know how everyone feels about Tom Brady. But, like, holy crap, that would be two awesome upsets back to back. And I take note of my use of the word awesome. I'm not salty about the Patriots losing. I'm not one of the fans that's like, oh, they were bound to lose because they looked so bad this season. But I'm also not like, no, how could this have happened? Let's be honest. We had a wide receiver core whose number one receiver was being held together by duct tape. I think they had a shot against the Tennessee Titans. They were at home in Foxborough. The Titans had a real rocky season start, and we've had their number in the past. But they outplayed the Patriots. They did. They outcoached and outplayed the Patriots. Something important to note is that usually on a Patriots loss, especially a playoff Patriots loss, is the outcoaching. It is hard to outcoach Bill Belichick, and when you do, you are rewarded thoroughly. It's real funny to watch Belichick's own tricks get thrown in his face, like how happened in the Titans game. I think you can see him mouthing, "That's effing bull." That's effing BS into his microphone on the sideline when they're doing the back-to-back penalties to run out the clock, and I'm just like, oh man, they're doing it. They can do that. We did that. Don't get me wrong. I love my team. I love Tom Brady and the Patriots. We have a dynasty that the world of professional sports hopefully will never forget. And the man has had 3 Hall of Fame worthy careers back to back, basically. You used to be able to split it in half and have 2 Hall of Fame worthy careers, but now you can break it into 3, which is even better. He has been to more Super Bowls than any team has. aside from, of course, the Patriots. So, yeah, I don't think I can be upset at all about the disposition of the Patriots. We've got a lot of good in the past. So, with that, I wish the Tennessee Titans the best of luck in Baltimore. I wish the Bills didn't win, that's right. I was rooting for the Bills. I really wanted to see those guys take it, because the Bills went to 4 back-to-back Super Bowls, and they lost all of them. Which, I don't know... That hurts, to have your expectations built up that high 4 years in a row, and think, this is our year, 4 years in a row, and get to the big game and lose 4 times in a row. That's not fair. That's awful. And I feel real bad for Bills fans that were around back in the day, and the Buffalo Bills, they wicked earned my respect this year, so I was totally rooting for them in the playoffs. I wanted to see them get through the Texans and play Kansas City. Or, no, they would have played Baltimore if they won, actually. That's what it was. I wanted to see them play Baltimore because I thought that they were the only people in the playoffs with a shot of taking Baltimore out. I bet you Baltimore's taking this whole thing, Super Bowl and all. They look incredible. Lamar Jackson is amazing. He blows my mind. He is an incredible passer, or at least he's a great passer, and he's also a fantastic runner. You put those two things together, you get a package that is tearing up the NFL. Hopefully he doesn't end up getting injured because of it, because that seems to be the life cycle of these mobile quarterbacks, because they end up getting hit a lot more than your pocket quarterbacks like Brady. I'm not going to compare the two either. Don't ask about that. We need to see, Lamar Jackson's history will be dictated by how he survives, I guess, in future seasons in the NFL. Does he make it through the Super Bowl healthy? Does he make it through next year healthy? This year, I don't think he was taken out of service for much. He was my quarterback in fantasy, so, I don't think he was taken out of service for much. He was a pretty reliable dude. So, that means to me that he's at least got the fortitude to stand up for one season. Let's see if he can do it again. Now, Gronk was able to stand up for a couple of seasons, though, and then he became a glass cannon for his last few years in the NFL. So, I don't know. We will have to see what Lamar Jackson means for not just the Ravens, the NFL as a whole. And if he goes home with a Lombardi Trophy this year, I won't be surprised in the least. In fact, I'll just be impressed. Because this guy, he came out of nowhere and he's going crazy. He's definitely a fantasy quarterback to look out for next year. But, sometimes we don't know. We don't know what it's going to look like. There we go. Okay. Oh, my stomach. It's rumbling. You'd think I should have just made the food and eaten before I started this. But it's important for me to get this out of the way, especially while I'm alone. Because I've got the time to myself. I'm not taking away from time with anybody by making this show when I'm home alone. So, when you live with your significant other, it's important to spend time with them because you might see them every day, but that, just because you're in the same room together doesn't necessarily mean you're, spending quality time with somebody. So that's why I'm getting into all these shows and stuff like that. I wouldn't necessarily say getting into for the case of Temptation Island, but, you know, watching. I won't say I watch it ironically, because I don't. First of all, I agree with Bernie Burns, there is no such thing as doing something ironically. When you're doing something ironically, you're just doing it. You're just doing it. Just own up to it and do it. So, you know, lots of people have started doing something ironically and then they can't stop. It's like, that's not irony. You're not doing it ironically then. You just started doing it and then you continued doing it. You know, being sarcastic is not the same thing, but even then, it's like sarcastically using the word bruh, which I think I started doing. You know, I am totally guilty of this. I started using the word bruh. I'm not one to use the word bruh. It's not in my typical vernacular, and I certainly didn't think it was before I started using it. And then I realized how useful it was. Bruh and oof. These are the words of my generation. Or even, you know, Gen Z, I guess. It's like, what does that mean? My mom will ask me. I'll be like, what doesn't it mean? Oof is the sound you make when something hurts. That's pretty straightforward. Bruh is like, I can't believe you've done this. Or I can't believe this is happening. I'm flabbergasted. This is all I can say. It's a more low-key, seriously? That's what it is. So, I will continue to use these words. And I will not say I'm using them ironically, and I will rarely admit that I ever considered using them ironically, because honestly I'm not sure that I did. I just started using them. I started using them with the knowledge that they felt weird coming out of me, and then it became less weird. I just adopted them. I wasn't molded by it. I merely adopted the bruh. You know. Anyway, I'm so glad we're getting this coastline done. This is taking more time than I would have figured, but so does everything on this damn map. But this is an important step. It means that we're sort of encircling all the areas that we have to get done. And if I learn anything of Hearts of Iron 4, encirclements are real good. But yeah. What was the other thing I was going on about? I mean, I haven't paid attention to the other playoffs that much, although it was a week of nearly upsets. And but the other playoffs, I mean the other conference. Except for the Seahawks. The Seahawks won their game, which they were supposed to. Right? I think that's what happened. And so they're moving on. And this weekend we get some games as well. And I honestly, it's playoff time. I think I can justify not going to the Model Railroad Club for a little while. I think I can say that, no, I'm going to stay home and watch football, and people will be like, I get you. Because there are plenty of football fans in the Model Railroad. At the same time, I might get some people like the Patriots are out of it, who are you watching. But it's the playoffs. This is what it comes down to. This one counts or whatever. I think that was the All-Star game thing for baseball, but whatever. It does. These games, they matter more than most of the other games in the year. So it's worth just hanging out and going, oh, let's see who's going on to the next round. And this week the teams come off the bye. So, yeah, we've got Baltimore playing. Baltimore is going to beat Tennessee. Kansas City's... Actually, Kansas City might have a shot... Or, you know, the Texans might have a shot against Kansas City. I'm thinking that's possible. When it was the other way around, when I was hoping the Patriots were going to get in there, I kind of figured that we could do Kansas City. We know how Kansas City runs, and we can... Yeah, they can run up the score on us, but we can also run up the score on them. We've done it before. not that any of that matters now, but wishful thinking and all that. My figuring was if the Bills won, they could beat the Ravens. I thought they had a decent shot to beat the Ravens, even though the Ravens are the Ravens this year. I thought that they, once they moved on from there, then maybe the Patriots could beat them. They were looking pretty dangerous, but we did have, we were able to pull one over on them. We were able to win our games against them. So, yeah, maybe we would have been able to do that, and then the Patriots would be in the Super Bowl again. And against who? Question mark. I'm thinking 49ers, probably. I think it's going to be a 49ers versus Ravens Super Bowl. That's where my money is. I'm gutted that the Saints lost because, goddamn, they should have won that one. Not like they should have, like they got robbed of it. They were outplayed. But, damn, man, after last year, you'd hope that they got a chance for redemption. And you thought they were gonna. They were looking so well in the regular season, and it just didn't happen. But that kills me. That just kills me. And then, 49ers. Who else is going crazy this year? There's a lot of crazy teams in that league. The Eagles are out now, so there goes the NFC East, the AFC East, whatever. There goes that group. The one that, like, someone from here has to go, so we'll put in a meh team. I feel like I should look up the playoff standings to remember who played and who's playing. I can't remember at all. Oh well. So, anyway. Sorry, drink time. This is another area we missed. So let's fill this in. We don't want to push into the field too hard. Also, I think I need to clean out my computer fan a little bit because it's, it gets to the part where it's like, oh, it's running kind of high all the time. Why is that? Well, it's because it's straining to keep your computer cool because it's gunked up with dust. This is a dusty house. And I did clean it, like, shortly after I moved in, but, when I installed the graphics card, I think. But since then, it's just been, like, I can hear it. It's getting worse. Right now, it's not so bad, but it definitely could be at a lower resting heart rate, so to speak. Clean your computers, people. Especially if they're higher-end rigs that need love. I'm not actually sure if, the server computer I don't think is water-cooled. We had another computer running the server that was water-cooled, and it had a pretty major issue, and it gunked up, like, the whole water cooling system, and so it was overheating and crashing a lot. John managed to figure out what the issue was, and then replace the coolant or something, and that helped, but it wasn't great. It was also, I think, an objectively worse computer. So we ended up moving on to this. I ended up getting the stuff for him. I recently had my cousin John over, and we played a bunch of Minecraft, and I gave him his new hard drive with all the stuff that I managed to salvage off of the server computer, and yeah, that was a nice day. Madison just said she's gonna make the food. That's my job! I know, I got this to do. This is my job. My job is to starve and do this. Okay. So, yeah, keep going. Oh, Doctor Who started as well, and I don't know if I would have watched that as much as I'd like to. Madison and I were actually thoroughly enjoying Doctor Who, even in, last season when I introduced her to it, because I said, new Doctor, you won't have to, know any of the backstory or anything. I've had things spoiled, which isn't... I've had things spoiled, which is not, bad. I mean, it's not good, but it's not crazy. Like I said, when you have television show spoilers, it's a lot less bad than movie spoilers. I talked about this last time, didn't I? I feel like I talked about this last time. Yeah, because there have been 2 episodes of Doctor Who out now, so I definitely talked about this last episode. But yeah, the spoilers that I try to block out of my mind, they've just come back in a vengeance. They've turned into memes, and I'm like, great. Now I'm faced with this reality. I can't even pretend I don't know. Thankfully, Madison would not know. If she saw one of these memes, she wouldn't have it spoiled. She wouldn't have it spoiled because she does not know who these characters are. So that's fine by me. Not only that, but the Doctor Who YouTube channel released a whole thing on the spoiler, and it just comes up in my sub box, and I'm like, really, guys? Alright. It's a live TV show. I don't know what I expect. I don't know what anybody really expects, It's not like I have to, it's not like there's a varied range of times when people are seeing this. Everybody's watching it at more or less the same time, so, it is, not unexpected that spoilers come out right afterward, and it's, oh, well, you missed it, so you got it spoiled. When were you going to watch it anyway? So, yeah. Last season I bought on Amazon Prime. I feel like maybe it was overpriced. I feel like... And I had to buy the Christmas episode separately, which I didn't end up doing, because screw that. Yeah. And I was like, this year, I don't feel like spending the money on that. I like Doctor Who, and I will if I have the extra money, if I have extra money, but right now I don't feel like justifying the expense for buying a season of Doctor Who, or any TV show, really. Doctor Who is probably my favorite show on TV, and I don't think I would spend money on a season of it. If something happened like, say, Stargate came back, then maybe I would do that, but that's a different ballgame we're playing there. This forest is way too thin. What's your favorite TV shows, guys? And if it's something obscure that I don't know about, I wouldn't be surprised. Although, I bet you plenty of people are thinking, well, is The Office still as crazy as it was? Because I remember for a long time The Office was everything. The Office was everyone. The Office was the bulk of most Tinder profiles. I liked the show. And then I sort of stopped watching it because I couldn't deal with the cringe humor and Michael Scott left or whatever. And it was like, yeah, that's good. That's an entertaining TV show. And then suddenly it's everywhere, years later, it's everywhere, everybody knows about it, everybody's binging it, and everyone's referencing it. And I'm like, oh man, should I take a refresher course? You feel like the one guy who's joined college at 27 years old and is trying to remember how to do basic arithmetic because they just haven't used it. Yeah. I just was like, I understand these references, sort of. I remember who these people are. There are plenty of subtle things I didn't get. Or, things I'd completely forgotten about. Like the Scranton Strangler or whatever. I've said or whatever 10,000 times during this show. I don't know what's going through my head. I don't know if I've been spending too much time with... I don't know who says or whatever. What is going on with me? I need to stop that. I need to put the brakes on that. Because it makes you seem careless. You need to be careful of the things that you say. I don't not care about these things that I'm talking about. I do, in fact, care about them. That's why I'm talking about them. However, saying "or whatever" at the end of everything implies a sort of aloofness, where it's like, I don't care if I get this wrong. I just don't know if I'm right. That's the real thing you're trying to get across, the I don't know if I'm right. What is this? I'm going to do you want... Blah, 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 blah. There we go. Let's just sort this out. And yeah, this is another one of those things. It's like, once we square this away, this area is going to look so much more complete. Except for that, but you know. And I'm going to be happy. Hopefully. Oh, the other show that I really loved that I'm not able to watch now is The Orville. Ah, that was a good show. I wish they had not taken it off of TV. Because I have a cable package, and I really enjoyed watching it on TV. And Fox hates sci-fi, so they had to take it off. And hopefully that doesn't hurt their viewership too much, but I'm sure that it will. I just can't justify going to get it otherwise, you know? Spending money on a subscription service. I don't know if it's going to actually be money. I don't know. I don't know at all. But I know that, you know, I don't remember, I should say, because there was a discussion on the subreddit when this whole thing came about. But I do know that I don't really feel like going through the extra effort to try and watch this show. And there were a million other shows on television. And not they're all, but a lot of them are pretty good. I feel like this entire episode has been about that general idea. So if I'm being deprived of a certain TV show that I want to watch, I will probably just find another TV show. I'm just waiting until the days when suddenly the internet becomes like a cable package and people are bundling streaming services together like channel packages, you know? I'll just get my stuff off of YouTube. I don't mean illegally. I mean, that's where the content creators are that I'm watching. Time Ghost, Achievement Hunter, even with their censorship, which I watch mostly on PC so I can go to the website to avoid it. And then all the other channels that I watch. I mean, Danny, Defend the House, which I haven't watched anything by Defend the House in a while. Slow-mo guys. There's another person, I mean, Scott Manley. I watch Scott Manley. I'm just thinking, like, who's a person that I immediately click on their video when I see it, and it's tough for me to dig up those names sometimes, because I'm thinking, who is that person? You know, there are plenty of people. I mean, I watch a guy by the name of DJ Hammer's Trains, who just does, like, New York City subway-related stuff, but of course, because I'm a huge subway foamer, I will eat that stuff up. And what's another one? Jason Allard, he does abandoned places around Rhode Island a lot of the time. But he just does these cool drone footage of it, or of the buildings. It's not super in-depth, but it's cool. I mean, Minute Physics and stuff, I haven't listened to them, or I haven't watched them in a little while. CGB Grey, though, I will click on in a heartbeat. Crap. Who else am I subscribed to? I said Time Ghost, but also World War II, also The Great War. Thinking about YouTube channels. I mean, Vintikatan, obviously. I talk about them all the time. I love his new instrument, the Odonophone, I believe it's called. I almost said or whatever, but I avoided it. Although he's been putting out a couple of videos on not their marble machine, which I'm okay with because it's, you know, it's the holidays. he gets some time off, and I'm sure he's had these videos in the backlog for whenever. I want more progress. I need more Marble Machine. I need more. It's so tantalizingly close. It's like this section of the route. He's been working on it for so long, and finally he can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and so can we, the audience. And God, that makes me happy. That makes me super happy. Because it means, not only do we get more beautiful music out of a fantastic band, it means that we get, A, some sleep for Martin. Poor Martin. And B, the hypothetical world tour of the Marble Machine, which I will pay good money to see. And he's leaving some of the frilly stuff to last, which, I can totally understand that. Just trying to get the mechanics of it down. Apparently, people really didn't like the kinetic fingers, which was a part of the device which he's using to show the movement of the thing to even people that are a little bit farther away and can't see all the intricacies. So, I think it's a good idea in theory, but I think it needed to be worked on. But he started working on that, and he got so much backlash, he just sort of stopped. He stopped working on that part of the project. And it's like, I'm sorry, Martin, but, I'm glad he listens. I'm glad he listens to the audience. The audience has come up with a lot of good things. Drakenifel is another YouTuber. I mentioned him at the top of the show. I watch his videos almost religiously. The dry docks, because they are so... what's the word? They're so... video... video light. They don't have a lot of images. I can have them on in the background at work almost like a podcast, and it's an hour or 2 hours depending on... of him just making... him just explaining warship stuff. And I love it. I love it to death. Okay. This side of the tracks, and then I think we're done for the day. Like I said, one of these days I would like to make, some sort of super long, doohickey. Super long episode of Under Construction. But I would also maybe prefer to do that in a stream format, and then I would just work on whatever, maybe AI. But I want to hear you guys' opinions about AI and stuff like that. Should I be redoing it? I haven't really explained what it is that the difference is. But you guys do know, perhaps, that I've discovered several more commands since we started this thing. And maybe part of it should be... I should be building it from the top down and having a better structure in place for everything instead of sort of winging it and just putting stuff together. The other thing is maybe I shouldn't have so much of a structure when it comes to trains on the main line. I could have certain trains running either on the express tracks or local tracks, some running wrong side to reduce the load on dispatchers and to make life easier. That's something I can look into. Not just reduce the load on dispatchers, because that's something that obviously doesn't really matter, because there's no human actually dispatching, but make it so that trains don't have to cross one another. The morning train that leaves Olive and heads to Mason Valley runs on this track, which means it has to cross all the way over to this track, and then run all the way down here, and then cross all the way back. I could run it on this track instead. Some of the traffic coming the other way, I'd have to shift onto this track. But that's okay. These are the kind of things that I could/should look into for for making this route work so well. Now look at that. This looks so much better. It looks so much more contiguous. We just have a couple gray spaces to fill in, and we are at the valley. And the valley is going to go, hopefully, like I've said, fairly quickly. Let me just look around here, because these areas in here are going to be our most difficult ones. I'm not going to do anything to the the south side of the two rivers. So that means I'm going to build down here, and I'm going to build down here, but I'm not going to build up here or up here. And I'm also not going to build right around Doe Cliff, as I've mentioned in the past. So that is what we need to do. I've mentioned before that these areas, they need more buildings and stuff. I put in these 3 because it needs to be denser as an industrial district. I think this is actually a good example of a decent industrial area, although this is mostly a warehouse district. You don't have a lot of free space, but you also don't have a lot of big buildings. Here we have a lot of big buildings, and we also have a lot of free space. So this area is probably going to stay. I might add a building over here. This area might get 1 or 2 more buildings, and also some more over here. At least 1 or 2. Maybe just warehouses. Simple stuff. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Under Construction, and I will see you next week. This is the Admiral, signing off.